Good evening, all. So, today we are going to study a topic which is client server model. So, this is a very important concept in system design. We need to understand few things with regards to this topic. The first uh, thing which we need to consider is client. The second thing which we need to take into concern is server. So, what is client? Client is essentially a machine which makes a communication with the server. Basically, it sends some information to the server, or let's say it makes a request to the server. And server is a machine which basically listens to a client and sends back some information back to the client. So client sends a request to the server, and the server listens to the client. The server listens to the client and sends some information back to the client. Okay, so by client I mean a machine, right? So let's say you are searching for Facebook. So what you do initially is you type in www.facebook.com, right, in any browser. Let's say it is the Chrome browser. Okay, so the Chrome browser now becomes your client. This is the URL which you are trying to search for. Okay, so when you hit enter after you have searched for facebook.com and clicked on this magnifying glass, when you basically hit enter, what happens is this client, that is Chrome, makes a request to a set of servers which we call domain name servers, or DNS in short. So this is the second thing which you need to take into consideration while studying this particular topic. Now, what this domain name server does, it has a list of IP addresses against particular domain names, and whenever a client asks for IP address against a particular domain name, the domain name server basically sends back the IP address to the client. So this was my client, right? The Chrome browser, and this is something which I wanted to search for. So the client asks from the domain name server, that is DNS, what the IP address of facebook.com is. The domain name server knows the IP address of facebook.com and it sends back the IP address of facebook.com. Okay, now I have been saying IP address, right? So what exactly is IP address? IP address is nothing else but the address of a particular machine. Okay, of a machine. Now, why is IP address needed when someone wants to search facebook.com? What actually is happening is Facebook's, like Facebook, the company Facebook has hosted its server on few machines. Okay, so I already told you, right, that server is something which listens to a client and it sends back some data to the client. The client was searching for facebook.com. It got the IP address of Facebook's server from domain name servers. Okay, and now it has requested some information from these servers. So these servers have got few addresses, which is called IP address, and this is the IP address which is stored in DNS servers, right? So now Facebook's server knows that this particular client, since it is a machine, it also has got its own IP address. Let's say we give it a notation of IPC, and this we denote as IPS, that is IP address of the server, and this is the IP address of the client. Okay, now IP address of the client has asked for some information from IP address of the server, that is Facebook's server, and along with the request, the client also sends in the IP address of the client, so that the IP address of the server knows which IP address it needs to send the information back to. Okay, so the IP address of the server, that is Facebook's server, now knows which is the client which has actually requested for some information. It knows the IPC, therefore it is successfully able to send back some information to the respective IPC, that is the respective client. So initially when you hit on www.facebook.com, you see a web page, right? That is nothing else but an HTML page, right? Or let's say whatever front-end script, right? So that information is sent from the server to the client, and the browser takes care of how it needs to show that information to the user. Okay, so this is a basic understanding of what client server model is, and this is how actually computers communicate with each other, right? Okay, so we'll move on to further topics in the next lecture. Thank you.